Hey, you're listening to Wrestling Roundup, FreeFM 89.0. This is Grady Hooker on episode 140, and live on Skype we have a barely functioning Josh.
Hey.
How's that 20 hours going? So we got a bit of a surprise to start off Survivor Series, or at least it was a surprise to me. And Goldust decides to come back and make his return.
Yeah, I hadn't heard anything. WWE was pretty good at keeping that under wraps.
And he captained a team with the Dudley Boys, Neville, and Titus O'Neil up against Stardust's Cosmic Wasteland, The Miz, and Bo Dallas. It definitely seemed like a shoved-together group of 10, but the point of the match was still there.
Yeah, it was definitely a continuation from the whole Neville Stardust thing, and then when you bring back Goldust, it brings that back from the beginning of the year before he got hurt.
Yep.
So,
and it gave Bo Dallas something
and they
to do.
definitely continued it on Raw, and yeah, Bo Dallas had a moment to shine.
Yay!
Brief moment, but it was a moment.
That counts. Yeah, so it seems like, at least from what was on Raw, that they're heading into the Goldust Stardust collision course that we never got.
Well, we did have a Goldust Stardust match.
Yeah. But we didn't have the big one, the collision, everything.
The end of the Stardust character.
Pretty much, yeah. Even though he's doing really well with his Cosmic Wasteland now, you know.
We have to end the Stardust character.
Okay, whatever you say. We will end the Stardust character just for you. But yeah, if anyone's going to do that, it will be Goldust. It wouldn't be a Neville or a Stephen Amell. And the Primetime Players are having a bit of a resurgence as well. I think the whole tag team division actually is having a bit of a resurgence. Because I tried to count it up on Raw. We had the Dudley Boys, the Primetime Players, the Ascension, Harper and Bray, who's tagged again. And those aren't even in the big scene. And then you got the Usos, the New Day, and the Lucha Dragons. So you got like 7 teams. You know, not counting the Lost Matadors and people I haven't seen for a long time. And heading into
And then you have a team waiting in the wings, just waiting for one of the members to get healthy to be brought up.
Yeah. It seems as though their tag team division is really good right now. Whether they can keep the storylines going and keep the interest there remains to be seen, but they have the talent sitting there to do it.
Cough, Divas Revolution, cough!
Yep. Though you did see Sasha on Raw, so, you know, one time in a month isn't bad.
Well, looks like she's going to have a feud with Becky.
Yeah. Well, we thought there was going to be a feud with Natalya, and so that never happened. We'll skip all of the tournament stuff, and we'll talk about that at the end. All on one big go, the main event, what were they, semi-finals, and the post-match. We'll do that all in one go. So we'll just skip through to the other 5-on-5 Survivor Series match. Ryback, the Usos, the Lucha Dragons versus the New Day, Sheamus, and Barrett.
Kind of really can't talk about this without talking about
You make a
the other
good
stuff
point.
too.
We'll remain sly. It was, again, very shoved together in terms of its build. Neither of the 5v5s were actually announced before the pay-per-view, which I thought was quite strange.
But it may have been because of Cesaro's injury.
It definitely seemed as though that Titus spot on the pre-show match seemed quite Cesaro-y. In terms of... Yeah, That's what I'm thinking.
No, Goldust was replacing Darren Young because Darren Young was on vacation.
Oh. So there's so many switchy swaps. I feel like a lot of this pay-per-view was swapped.
They probably finished writing it about 15 minutes before it went on air.
Because you have the Goldust, but replacing Young, because Young was on vacation, but Goldust got thrust immediately straight into a storyline, so they had to write that for him. And then the other 5v5 got put together in one go, but it did also slightly build Usos, Lucha, and New Day. So I don't know. It seemed rushed, and I guess we got a 5v5 out of it. And both teams of good guys won. Which I don't know if that's a common factor.
And both teams were heavily one-sided. Both matches were heavily one-sided.
We had 4 survivors in the pre-show one and 3 in the next.
In large part because 2 of the heel team walked out on the lone survivor on that team.
Yeah. But that's just classic New Day. Who, from seeing on Raw, decided to ride unicorns to the ring.
And hold a quote-unquote open challenge for the tag team titles.
Yeah, it was open, and it was a challenge. They just closed it immediately after.
They canceled it after they had 2 teams to answer.
So there's our triple threat,
we've been asking that the TLC match, TLC, we have some sort of triple threat match involving the Usos and the Lucha Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
With the New Day. And it looks like we're going to get, at the very least, a ladder match. I would prefer a second TLC match.
Yeah. I don't know. They don't seem to pull the trigger quite often.
I will settle for a ladder match.
Yeah. They don't seem to normally put 2... I guess they had 2 Hell in a Cell matches, but you've got the rest of the night of gimmick stuff as well, so... I'd guess, I don't know, maybe a large percentage of the audience is probably wondering where the Dudleys are in terms of that build. Since, it's their pay-per-view.
Well, they got buried by Brayan... Harper.
Yeah.
So...
who knows? So it's about time to go into our classic entrance theme. It is The Rock's, and I have no idea what the name of it is.
Is cooking.
And you're back with Wrestling Roundup. FreeFM 89.0, Grady and Josh. So we got the WWE Divas Championship match, Charlotte versus Paige.
They so choreographed that this feud was not over.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely the outrage over the whole Reed Flair comments.
Yep.
Definitely did not pay off, at least not for that crowd.
No.
Because that crowd was bored out of their mind during this match.
It was... it wasn't a bad match. We've had a lot of bad Divas matches, but there was nothing that was spectacular, nothing that was like, hey, look at me, I'm an awesome moment.
But the way that it's been so personal, I said during the show, they need to have a last woman standing match at TLC.
Yeah. They need to allow them to have some form of gimmick match.
It definitely cannot be a normal match. It definitely can't. And I don't see a tables match or a chairs match between the Divas really settling anything like a last woman standing match would. Because on Raw, they got counted out.
Yeah. Which definitely tells you this will be continuing. But knowing the writing as of late, they'll just blow it off with a regular match on SmackDown one week.
No, they'll probably just cop out, since they both have submission finishers, make it a submission match.
No, thank you.
Well, they could always reintroduce the stairs.
Yeah, we'll just
You
go
can
with the
have
stairs
stairs
match.
or you can have submission match.
The bit that confuses me the most about the pieces they keep doing with that is, why is Paige's PTO more devastating when it's done on the announce table? I just don't get it.
Everything's more devastating on the announce table.
I'm sorry. It's just the aura of the announce table makes it more painful.
WWE logic. Everything is more devastating on a table.
Damn it. I missed the memo. I'm sorry, guys. Next was Tyler Breeze versus Dolph Ziggler.
We all knew Breeze was winning this match.
Yeah. And Ziggler continues to look more and more like Shawn Michaels. It is what it is. It seemed like this was never going to get I think it was probably the shortest match. Barring the match that was always going to be shorter, but it was only like 6 minutes and a half. And Breeze came out on top. It was just a nice, simple thing. It wasn't going to be a big and flashy match.
Yeah.
It definitely seems as though they're just trying to get the gimmick familiarized with the fans, get everybody into it. This is Tyler Breeze, this is how he works, this is how he operates. And then they might move on to something big with the guy. I don't know.
He definitely has a master of his character like very, very few have in the WWE today.
Yeah.
That's probably his greatest strength is how well he knows his character.
Yep. And even though down in NXT he didn't have Summer Rae with him, she seems to be blending fairly well with him on screen.
She's definitely a heat magnet.
Mm-hmm. We'll talk about the tag team match, the last non-main event involving match. The Brothers of Destruction versus Brayan and Harper.
I was not surprised. I was not surprised that it was Brayan Harper.
Yeah.
As you know, I have told you for weeks that Harper was the most logical choice to lose the match.
Yeah.
He's the only one that could really afford it.
Fair enough. It seemed as though it was we had the massive Undertaker display in terms of coming out, 25th anniversary, and to me at least, the 10-minute match was a little lackluster. It had its spots here and there, but it wasn't a huge match to me, as, you know.
It wasn't supposed to be. It was just a celebration of The Undertaker.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
Come on.
That's all and you weren't supposed to read into it any more than that. That's all it was.
But it was
It
big.
was a celebration of the man, the myth, the legend known as The Undertaker.
But the New Day had unicorns on their anniversary.
And The Undertaker had a coffin that showed every incarnation of The Undertaker ever.
Unicorn, coffin, potato. But in terms of the ending, where does this leave us? Are the brothers done with Wyatt's? Is Kane done with The Undertaker? We're going to see them together again. We're going to see them going up against each other. Undertaker going to take a few months off.
Who the heck knows?
But is that a good thing or a bad thing that we don't know?
Bad thing when it comes to the Wyatt family.
That's a good point. The Wyatt family they got the short end of the stick here, and now they're just floating.
What? When was the last time they actually ever won a feud?
Someone wrote this down. I was trying to remember it.
The Shield?
There
I
was
think that's the only time.
It was a very short-lived one in Bray's singles career, I believe, where Bray beat Ryback. and that was like the end of the feud, and then Ryback went on to win the Intercontinental title the next pay-per-view. And I think other than that and the Shield, that's about it. They don't often win things.
Yeah.
But they...
it's getting to the point where you just like blah 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 Bray, blah 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 blah. We lose, blah 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 blah.
But somehow they manage to, even though they're losing and losing and losing, they manage to maintain the character that they're still meant to be scary, and they're still meant to be a dominating force because there's many of them. And they still...
People are tuning out on them.
True.
They don't care anymore.
Yeah. Grady still cares.
I have seen a lot of people say they don't care anymore because of the way they're being booked.
Well, is it going to change?
Simply don't care.
Will it ever change? Well, one man that the booking certainly changed for is our current entrance theme of the week, and we'll talk about him after the song, Roman Reigns. And you're back with Wrestling Roundup, FreeFM 9.0, Grady and Josh. So now we'll get on to the title picture, I guess is a way to class it all together. So Roman Reigns took on Alberto Del Rio in the first match of the night.
Roman Reigns figured out the counter to Alberto Del Rio's new finisher. What a counter. Don't look up.
It's so easy. Why did nobody else think about it? It wasn't actually too bad of a match to start off the pay-per-view.
It was definitely a very good match.
Yeah, I thought it was good. And then straight afterwards, you had Dean versus Owens.
And that was a good match, and it does kind of look like we're going to get a feud between these two, possibly for the IC title.
I could see it.
But yeah, Dean won the match, and it set up the most predictable final in the history of tournaments, but it was the right final as well.
I don't know, it could have been Kalisto versus Titus O'Neil. That would have been a great swerve, just have those two. Could have had this exact same ending as well, but probably wouldn't have been as impactful. I think the 3 tournament matches they had, Reigns, Del Rio, Ambrose, Owens, and then Ambrose, were all great matches tonight, or on Survivor Series.
Yeah, they were all great matches. I defy somebody to say that Roman can't go.
Mm-hmm.
He has proved it time and time and time again.
We just look at these 2 matches, his previous ones, even with Big Show, or his Daniel Bryan one at Fastlane. He's put on great matches.
Matches with Bray Wyatt.
Yep. WrestleMania before the cash-in.
He's brought it all year long, and you have not heard a peep out of him complaining or anything. Because a lot of people that would have been pretty much guaranteed to win the title at WrestleMania, and then it changed at practically the last moment, would have self-destructed.
Yep.
Everybody's favorite Dolph Ziggler, he definitely would have self-destructed.
Yeah. And after what happened at Survivor Series, there was like 3 thoughts going through everyone's mind, because I watched it with a couple of different family members. So at the end of the match, I had my grandfather saying, it's obvious what's going to happen next. I had my mum saying, oh dear God, please no, don't let it happen, let him have his moment. And then I think my grandmother fell asleep. But, you know, that's her problem, not the wrestling's problem. But everyone knew something was up when Triple H came out.
I was sitting there screaming at my computer for Roman Reigns to get the hell out of the ring.
Yep. It's the curse of the confetti, man. Confetti's never good.
it was the curse of the pay-per-view being at the match ending at 10:37 with 23 minutes left before the cutoff point.
Yep. Run, Roman.
When I looked at my clock and I saw that time, I'm like,
fudge it.
Well, there's no doubt it's going to happen. My only hope was somehow, some way, Roman would win the match.
Yep. I had that going. When he spared Triple H, you had a small moment of hope.
You had the loudest pop of the night.
I don't know. It seems as though people are always bagging on Reigns, but, it's a moment, and it sets up the feud later on in the line, because I'm going to imagine that Reigns is just going to take Rollins' place. In terms of the Triple H feud, not in terms of being a stooge.
Roman Reigns is Daniel Bryan 2 years ago.
Yep.
The
exactly.
Exact same place.
Mm-hmm.
But you get bonus points for also being John Cena from 2006. Because Cena got cashed in by Edge and RVD in the same year.
Yep.
Reigns has been cashed in by Rollins and Sheamus in the same year.
The thing I like the most, and this is jumping to Raw now, with the whole Sheamus being in the Authority thing, is it looks like they're continuing the European stable that we had pre-Rusev's injury.
Yeah. It's definitely looking that way. I could still see them maybe picking up Neville, because I don't know what it was, but something just did not seem normal with him last night with his match with Mark Henry.
Yeah. I don't know. That could have just been fair from Mark Henry.
Yeah. And he definitely got a little dap from Mark Henry.
It seemed like both a metaphorical and physical rub, but it seemed that Neville was, a little aggro-y. And he was, I believe, the only one eliminated from his team on the pre-show as well.
Yeah, he was the one that was knocked out.
So, I don't know, what's next for Neville? But you got to look at the team of Sheamus, Barrett, and Rusev and see that is a dominating force to be reckoned with. Especially when they're backed by Triple H and they have the World Heavyweight title. Whether that means Rusev and Barrett are actually going to do anything, that's a different story.
Yeah, who knows? I've heard Lana's got a lot of heat on her backstage over things, whether it's the announcement of their engagement, because they believe, because there are some people backstage that believe she's the one that leaked it, or her little Twitter spat with Paige a couple weeks ago, which was not anything storyline driven.
She's done a few things that have annoyed a few people.
Nuclear heat is the term that was used.
And hopefully that doesn't rub on Rusev.
For her, and that's not a good thing for Rusev.
Yeah. I'm hoping that, they just say that was Lana's fault, not Rusev's fault. The likelihood that happens. But hopefully we see a dominating team up in the main roster. And they've booked Sheamus Reigns in a TLC match for TLC. So we're out of time. It's been great talking to Josh.
Bye-bye.
You can go have some sleep. You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/Wrestling Roundup Radio, Twitter page, twitter.com/Wrestling Radio. See you next week.